Unusual, but I decided, you know what, in this evening, so I'm going to live stream it. I'm going to broadcast it on YouTube, which does mean that I won't be driving. But to be honest, I've not long had a big dinner, so I'm a bit bloated, and I'll get my practice in a little later this evening. So it's a practice then for Hungary, and it's not. It's not. I'm trying to think of the word now. A requirement for the drivers to have to attend the practice sessions. We just put them on. So that if drivers do want to get some practice in, they can do. So obviously a few of the guys are on circuit today for a bit of practice, but tell you what, it looks like we could be in for a bit of a wet one. I almost heard what sounded like rain, but I shall retire from the session. I'm going to do this not usually we'd watch a practice session or a qualifying session for a league race actually in the pit lane, but obviously it's a practice session, so it's just about watching the guys while they're on the track. If it allows me to change to the broadcast camera, which oddly enough it's not letting me do. Okay, I wonder why that is then. Well, that's a little odd. I wonder if it's because my controller's set as control pad 2. Let's see. No, for some reason it's only letting me look behind. Well, that's very strange. We don't usually have that when we're broadcasting. But obviously today that seems to be what's happening, so I shall have to actually go and see if I can press the buttons on my steering wheel. There we go. That's a little bit awkward then, because it means I'm going to have to move my wheel so that it's near me where I was actually sitting. But anyway, so Hungary. Talk about a difficult circuit. It is a tricky track. I've said it before. The real commentators in F1 say it. It is like Monaco without the walls. It is that kind of nature of circuit. It's tight, it's twisty. One corner leads into another, and a tiny mistake anywhere and it can cost you. So for the drivers in the practice session here, I think what we may see is quite a few of them perhaps going off track at different points. Not necessarily doing anything they shouldn't, but simply trying to get a feel of the circuit. They can't do how the cars are feeling, whether their setups are right or not. Ooh. It looks like a few of the cars are popping wheelies here. I'm wondering whether the live stream is possibly causing some connectivity issues. Not connectivity issues, but visual issues, which is quite possible. Because one of the reasons that I'm doing this practice live stream is because I do want to test the maximum level on the YouTube live stream from the PS4. Because at the end of the day, if we can stream in the highest quality, then it's worth doing. However, if streaming in the highest quality makes it look bad, then obviously it's not really worth doing. So we'll see how it goes. So for anyone that is watching, if the quality does sort of get bad or anything like that, feel free to send a message, because I will be able to get them. So the drivers that are on the circuit this evening, we have a mixture of World Championship drivers, World Series drivers. I'll tell you what I'm going to do actually, because I think Kev187 has joined the session but can't actually get on track. So I'm going to invite him in, Let's see if he's up for a little conversation. He is spectating, so let's invite him in, because we've got a half-hour practice session. So I'll invite him in. It'll be interesting to see what he perhaps sees, or what he's interested in seeing as he goes around. That's if he gets the notification and decides to come and join. Now, for lap times around here, what the fastest lap will be, I don't know. But it's a practice session, so there's a fairly good chance that the drivers will be using prime tyres, have extra fuel. And Kev has joined us, so be warned, Kev, I'm live streaming, so I've seen as you're spectating, I figured I'd drag you out of what sounds like the cafeteria there. I figured while you're watching, you may as well chat with me. That is, as long as I've got my party settings, broadcast settings as set to share, and so have you. So let's have a look at that. I'll quickly check mine. Now, you missed out on the start of the practice session by about 30 seconds. Again, your timing is terrible. But seeing as that you are now sat there spectating, what are you looking for?
Cleanliness.
Well, some of them.
See if I can take any lines off them.
I mean, that's an interesting one. I mean, I was just saying that there's a fairly good chance we're going to be seeing people off track. Because it's a practice session, so people are going to be pushing the cars, pushing the limits, and seeing if the cars are handling well. And obviously, if you're spectating, you get to see if people are doing things cleanly, or perhaps if they do something and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, I should perhaps try that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's party settings, I can't remember.
Go into the party. And on the right hand side it should say party settings, and it'll be on always allow.
Always allow,
yeah. Now obviously we did a little bit of practice last night, and neither of us are driving at the moment. But I mean, we both found this circuit a bit of an odd one for how the cars were handling. So I reckon that there's going to be a few of the drivers that are on track at the minute that are going to find it very, very difficult.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few that are wondering why they're slow, because it is difficult. It is very difficult.
It is. I mean, here's a question for you though. I mean, because I remember the days, and you remember the days where we'd be flying round here, doing sort of 119s, teetering on the 118s. But at the moment, it looks like 121s is the lap time. So, as a driver, what do you think of that apparent 2-second loss of track time?
I don't know, it's the modern era of F1, isn't it? I suppose no one's going to change it.
It's interesting.
I prefer it when you're faster and you can not abuse the car, but attack the track a bit more.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you're fine to go faster here if you're smoother and a bit more like Button-esque.
Yeah, I mean,
as opposed to maybe Schumacher or someone, I don't know.
Maldonado. I was reading something that Gene Haas has said today, and he was going on about another guy that's coming into F1 and straight away starts talking about cost cutting in F1, because he's like, every year F1 talk about, oh no, Kev's left the session, which means he's probably left my party. I'll continue what I was saying anyway. He has left the party. He'll be able to get back in if he can. I was reading something that Gene Haas has said today, and he was saying that every year in F1 they talk about reducing the costs in F1, but then they make rule changes which makes all the teams spend more money. And he sort of wondered whether F1 has gone in the right direction with the type of engine changes that they've made for this season, or for last season and this season. I think his words were, it's turned into a bit of an engine silly season, and it's true. I mean, Brundle said it himself, that all of the issues that are happening this year to a lot of the cars, he was expecting to have last season, but it just didn't turn out that way, which is very, very true. Okay, now there is a couple of drivers there is a couple of drivers on circuit at the moment that, well, there's one that I know of that has never driven around this track until yesterday, which is my bad. So he's definitely on a bit of a steep learning curve at the moment. NW here, he knows the track, but he was finding something rather odd. He was telling me from some practice he's done nice in qualifying, but in sort of race mode, feeling absolutely horrible. And I did try telling him that a lot of it can be down to track temperatures, or even air temperatures. I mean, if we look at the sky, it's a bit grey and gloomy, and I'm sure as we look in the background, I mean, look over there, that is really, really grey and gloomy. So in this practice session, the drivers may find that they haven't got a lot of grip, but in the qualifying session, if it's a sunnier situation, then potentially there'll be more grip there. The tricky part for the drivers and their mechanics is getting that balance of tyre pressures correct for the track temperatures and the air temperatures, because if it's cold, you want temperatures that will keep your tyres warm, but if it's hot, those temperatures may overheat your tyres, so you'll end up with less grip. So it's a very tricky balancing act, but that is one of the reasons why even when Parc Fermé is on, you can actually adjust your tyre pressures, which I think is a good thing. Now, Peter Stockman has commented on the live stream saying he's struggling with turn 4. For anyone who doesn't know which turn 4 is, it's this one here. It's the Massa corner, as I call it, because it's where Massa went straight on after getting hit in the head. I think a lot of people struggle with that corner. It's a corner where in previous seasons you could approach it, bang it down a couple of gears and just attack it, like very aggressive, throw the car in and it'd make the corner nice and easy. Not anymore. I mean, while I was doing a bit of practice, I found that I was having to go down quite a few gears and it was frustrating me. But then setup changes can help you in that corner, but I'm not going to tell people what I changed. Okay, so I can't tell how long we're into the session, but it is a half-hour practice session, so there's plenty of time for the drivers. Oh, Mornay's going a little deep here, but this is what I'm on about. You're going to see drivers going off because they're going to be attacking the circuits to see what their car's capable of. I'm going to let Mornay get across the line, and I'm going to see if send Kev another invite, because if he's spectating, he may as well come for a chat, unless he's decides to go and do a bit of practice on his lonesome. I mean, when it comes to he's not online, I would guess his internet has gone. He will not be happy about that, and he will not want that to happen again tomorrow, because obviously he did get disconnected last week. Grable, hello. How are you? I've got something for you and for anybody else that is interested, and I shall post it in the comments because you'll need to know about that. So take a look at that link that I've just sent there. For anyone else that's interested, take a look at that link, because it is to do with the Project Cars Leagues that Front Row Racing will be starting very soon. So I was saying that, a bit of lag on Mornay there. I think we should go and ride on board with someone else. Hindle, we haven't ridden on board with Hindle yet. The practice session's half an hour long. And one of the things I would advise drivers do here is put fuel in the car and see how their car handles with fuel in. I mean, it doesn't really matter how much fuel, but put fuel in, and then you'll get an idea of how it is going to handle, how heavier it is, whether it can make the corners, the braking zones, and all that kind of thing. You don't get caught out then. At the end of the day, practice sessions are there for you to test things. You can pit as many times as you like, you can make as many changes as you like. Obviously you're limited on what tyres you've got, but it's an opportunity for drivers to really play about with their setups, and that's what I do. I'm not saying what I do is what everyone should do, but it's an opportunity for people to do all those kind of things. Now, I do know a few people, for example, they just like to go for fastest laps, which is all well and good, but If you then put fuel in the car and the car handles horribly and you haven't checked that, you're going to get caught out. You're definitely going to get caught out, and obviously you don't really want that. It's better to know or have an idea of how your car is going to handle. You can save your hot laps for qualifying if you like. I mean, with a practice session as well, I mean, for example, if you have someone just ahead of you, it's worth following them for a while, even if you're perhaps quicker than they are, just to see how your car behaves when following another car. Do you get understeered? Do you get oversteered? Does it brake as well? What happens with your engine? All these kind of things. Do your tyre temperatures get affected? And that's what practice sessions are for, to find out the things that you're perhaps not sure about. However, the drivers do need to remember that in the practice sessions, this is something that is a little frustrating. It bugs me a little bit, is that in the practice sessions, the level of tyre wear that a driver will get is not relevant to the race length that is attached to that practice session. So, for example, here we have a 30-minute practice session, a 15-minute qualifying session, and a 25% race. And it's all basically one practice session. I mean, our league races are 50%ers, but we do the practice at 25% because you've got half an hour of practice and a quali, and then about half an hour of a race, so it takes quite a while. But what's frustrating is that the tyre wear you get in practice is relevant to a 100% race, not relevant to a 25% race or a 50% race, which is what it should be. Now, what that means is that for the drivers, they have to try and get a little bit clever, a little bit smart, because if they just look at their damage meter, which they get on their display, they could do 10 laps on a set of option tyres and it might show that they've got no wear. And if that's how they approach a race, they'll get caught out, because they may find, for example, that what actually will happen is that they do 5 laps on a set of options and they've got a lot of wear. So you have to knock 50% off in the practice session. Now, GT5 King, he's had a bit of a crash there, a little bit like what is believed that Alonso had at Spain. That will have caught him out a little bit. Luckily for him, there is no damage on in the practice session, so he can wipe himself down and carry on and forget about that one, and whatever he did that caused that crash, he can work on not doing it again, hopefully. So yeah, as I was saying, the drivers need to get a little bit clever, because what information they do get is a percentage. So, for example, while they're practicing, for example, you put a setup on your car and you go and do 10 laps. And you can have a look at what your tyre wear percentage is. You then make a setup change, go and do another 10 laps on a new set of tyres and see what your tyre wear percentage is, whether it's different or not. Now, you may make some changes that have a dramatic effect on that tyre percentage, and that's where you can work out whether a setup is destroying tyres or is friendly to tyres. But anyway, I can't give too much information away. So as I say, it is just a practice session. I am mainly here just to test YouTube, which so far doesn't look too bad, but it does look like on the highest level either some of the drivers' connections isn't too great, or it could be that I've got my computer on while doing the live stream on the highest quality. Some of the cars are jumping about a little bit. Now, GT5 King's managed to get through the corners where he crashed on the previous lap, so it'll be interesting to see if he improves on his lap time here. I can't actually see what his lap time is at the moment, not without going into the race director. Hungary is one of those circuits where there's some bits of this circuit that I really like, and there's some bits of this track that I think everybody hates. I'm not a big fan of turn 1, to be honest. It got adjusted a few years ago. I don't know the exact year it was, but the first corner used to actually be a mirror image of the final corner. which I think was a much better corner. But it got changed. I think it was to try and aid overtaking, which may be true and may be possible now to overtake more into that corner. But I'm not a huge fan of the hairpin. Now Rian's still sitting in 9th place and actually got through drivers' penalties. Got his first podium last week in Front Row Racing World Championship. When I wrote the review, I wasn't sure if he'd had a podium before, which is why I put it as question marks. But yeah, I mean, he got his first podium, so he will be very pleased with that. And he will hope to perhaps try and build on that for the coming season in the World Championship. Always ran a little bit wide out there. You'll have to be careful of that one because that curb's not very nice. And then we're into the really horrible bit, the right-left chicane. Well, I say really horrible bit. In the older V8 cars, it wasn't actually that bad. Once you worked out how to take it, you could take it sweet, you could take it fast. But these new version of cars, they don't like attacking that chicane at all. It is quite an odd one on that, and I think it's down to the level of torque that these cars have, meaning that you try and apply the throttle through there, and if you get it slightly wrong, you are heading in the wrong direction. And the pit lane as well, also a very, very tricky one. Now, Sergeant Hitman in his Red Bull. Now, when it comes to the World Championship and the World Series drivers around this circuit, I mean, this is one of those tracks where, I mean, anyone could win the race. It could come down to whoever makes the least mistakes, whoever has the least crashes, whoever qualifies in the best position. I mean, one of the downsides that I mentioned in the practice session last night is that, Hitman very, very sideways there, but manages to keep going. This was a circuit where if things didn't go right for you in those first few laps, there was always a possibility of a safety car, which meant that all you had to do was keep going and there'd be half a chance that you could get back into the race. With there being no safety cars on F1 2015 now, that is no longer a possibility for you, which I would say, I mean, I know a lot of people have their own thoughts about the safety cars, and it's not good that they haven't got them in, but having found out why there is no safety cars in, it's kind of understandable. I mean, essentially, Codemasters would have liked to have delayed the game a little more, but due to contractual reasons, they weren't able to do so. The FIA that they were contracted with, and also Silverstone that they were contracted with, pretty much enforced the release for Silverstone, or at least that was the aim, that it was to be released at Silverstone. So when a delay came out, obviously that didn't go well and they weren't going to be granted another one. And one of the few things that ended up getting missed off due to lack of time was the safety cars, which is a real disappointment, because at the end of the day, if someone crashes and it's a big crash and it writes their car off and it's somewhere a safety car should come out, then really it should be there. Now, Hitman has been struggling a little bit on this lap, so he's let Hindle through. I mean, it does look like Hindle is jumping around a little bit. I think he's on the white marked harder tyre, I think it is, and the yellows. No, the yellows. I can't remember since last night. But he could be on the white mark prime tyre. It's totally gone. I know. I did so many laps around here. No, the yellows are the options. That's right. The yellows are the softs. They're the option tyre. The white mark tyre is the mediums. So they're the prime tyre. I knew I'd get there in the end. So Hindle has obviously gone on to looking a little bit more at race pace at the moment with the prime tyre. And like I say, that's what practice is for. It doesn't matter if your name's at number one, if when it comes to doing races, your car can't handle the fuel. I mean, I know there's been drivers in a few league races recently where within the first 4 or 5 laps they're getting punctures, and perhaps not knowing why, or even towards the very end of races getting punctures and not knowing why. And a lot of that could be down to not having done high fuel running on tyres that get pushed to the maximum wear rate, which is why the practice sessions having the incorrect tyre usage is really frustrating. I mean, for example, at Monaco, when I was practicing on my own there, I knew that I think I did something like 20 laps on a set of prime tyres and they had no signs of damage. And it's like, okay, so I'm going to need to do 40-ish laps to really be able to work out a percentage. So I ended up having to sort of do another run on a set of tyres that had already done 20 laps just to see what their tyre wear percentage was, but in the end never needed them because it rained in the race anyway. But that's where if the tyre wear rate was the same as the length of race you've got, so like here we've got a 25% race, it really should have a practice session where the tyre wear is relevant to a 25% race. That way the drivers here, I mean, I've said it to them pretty much every week, is don't trust your damage amount in relevance to a 50% race. You've got to half it. So if it's saying that the tyres will do 30 laps, they won't, they'll do 15. Or in practice, if you happen to get enough laps in on your damage meter, it shows that after 18 laps your damage is starting to appear, then it's actually going to start happening around lap 9. And I think a lot of the drivers have sort of more and more sort of cottoned on to that one. Now, another reason why I'm doing the practice session is, as I've mentioned a little while ago, or broadcasting the practice session, is that I want to help try and promote the Project Cars leagues that Front Row Racing are doing. Obviously, we have an F1 league with the World Championship on Wednesdays and the World Series on Thursdays. Wednesdays is a no assist league, Thursdays is an assists allowed league. We then have the FRR days for F1 2015, which is the feeder system into the Wednesday and Thursday leagues. But at Front Row Racing we're also starting Project Cars leagues, and they're going to start this weekend. So Friday night from 9 PM there's going to be a 10 race season over 10 weeks in the Formula B. So it'll be a 15-minute qualifying session and then an 85-mile race, which at Monza equates to 24 laps. On Sunday we will be having will be round 1 of a 10-round season over 10 weeks in the Ginetta Juniors, and it's a similar process. There'll be qualifying. The races will be 50 miles long, and at Donington Park I think that worked out at about 20 laps, something like that. Well, I have posted a link to that video in the chat box. And the video is also on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel, so if you are watching this, have a look for the Project Cars start date, and it has a little bit more information on there. And if you are interested in joining either of those leagues or even both of those leagues, all you need to do is find Front Row Racing on Facebook and send us a message saying, hello, my PSN is this, I would like to join your Friday Project Cars League or your Sunday Project Cars League, or both of your Project Cars Leagues. Now the Sunday one does start at 8:30, not 9 o'clock. I will just re-emphasise that they have got different start times. But yeah, so it's as simple as that. Let us know you want to join. There is spaces available at the moment, and you're in. No questioning it, no arguing it, no testing, no nothing. You're in. From a racing, there'll be no additional inquiries after the race, no stewards inquiries, no reporting, no nothing. It's as simple as this: turn up and race. We'll record it, we'll do commentary, and we'll do the standings. We're going to keep it nice and simple on that one. So for 10 race seasons, and at the end of those seasons we'll change the cars. So short seasons, but meaning that we get to go through a number of different cars. So if you are interested in either of those, I'll say find Front Row Racing on Facebook. Okay, so we've ridden on board with Hindle for a few laps, and I can't say I was actually watching at all. David Hart going into the pit lane, so there's not much point watching him. Jason, not ridden on board with him at all so far. Now it says that he's on his 8th lap. I know a few of the guys have done sort of 10 and 11. It was quite funny. I think it was last week. In the last couple of minutes of the practice session, someone said to me, he's like, "Dave, have you done 23 laps?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How have you done that?" So we whack a load of fuel in, just go do laps, just drive around. I mean, at the end of the day, even if your setup's wrong, you can still learn stuff when you're on track. So yeah, I mean, it's like the practice sessions that we had last night, and the practice session is actually over now. The practice session we had last night, I hadn't actually driven around the circuit at all, so I put a setup on, my Monaco setup, went out on track, realised straight away, okay, this isn't going to work for this circuit. So I literally only did like 1 or 2 lap runs, just to work on one tiny little detail that I needed from the car. I never actually got it in the end, but by the time the sessions were done, I knew what I was going to do when I next came on, which was later in the evening. So I was like, okay, I've tried these few things, so I know that next it's this. And that's what the practice is all about, is giving the drivers the opportunity to get on track, try the setups, make some changes, and see how they get on. And also, it's like, I mean, we'd always say, never set your car up in time trial for online races. It won't work. You can set your car up in the quick races for online races. However, you may find at some circuits there's more grip in the single player races, and at other circuits you'll find that there's less grip compared to online. So yes, you can work on a setup in quick races, but be prepared to make some adjustments to it. Okay, that's not letting me change to anybody else on the circuit. So that's the practice session over. Tell you what we'll do, can we have a look at the race director? Yes, we can. So Hindle's got the quickest time. Now it's showing there the prime tyre, but that's obviously it's what you finished on. Stocky, David Hart, Richie, GT5 King, Mornay, Jason, NW, my bad, Sergeant Hitman, myself. Obviously we have seen a few drivers come and go. Perhaps I thought I was going to cancel me out of them. You're very right, Crofty. Practice is not indicative of what people's pace are potentially for qualifying. Now, one thing I know that, for example, that Hindle at the moment is sort of fighting for a reserve drive within Front Row Racing. He's had a couple of drives and unfortunately got disqualified from the last race due to too many ETLs, off-track moments. And he has said that he's going to work on his driving and improve on his lines and things like that. So we allowed him into the practice session last night, and afterwards he asked whether he could go back onto the reserve driver list. I haven't actually responded to him directly yet. I've been quite busy, but last night I did have a few drivers say to me that Hindle needs to work a bit more on his racing lines, and I did say to him that he does appear to be quite quick and he'll be in the spotlight, and by that I mean if you appear and you're quick, then drivers are going to keep an eye on you. They are going to want to know whether you're legitimately quick, fairly quick, or whether you need to work a bit on your driving. And in the case of Hindle, some of the comments that have come back to me is that he does need to work a bit on his racing lines. So for Hindle, it's a case of, right, an opportunity has come, you've had a chance, it's not quite worked out, so take a step back, slow the pace down, and just simply work on keeping the car 2 wheels on the tarmac. because, I mean, everyone's heard the saying, well, it's usually 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. Well, you would the other way around, 2 steps backwards to take 10 forwards. And it is good advice to go slower, to go faster at times, especially if it means going slower and getting a classified result rather than being fast and getting a DSQ. Okay, anyway, we're on to the qualifying session, which could be quite an interesting one. I mean, for the qualifying sessions, I myself would not usually try going for sort of flat out fastest laps in qualifying. I mean, always do a bit of sandbagging. It's always worth it. It sounds like that Force India's feed sounding a little bit unhealthy. Yeah, I mean, always have a little bit of sandbags. I tend to just use it as an additional 15 minutes of practice, essentially. That's what I tend to do with it. And the race itself, in the practice days, the race itself is just about, okay, when you've got a bit of fuel on, do your braking points change? Can you make an overtake somewhere? If someone's going to attempt an overtake somewhere, where do you need to position your car to either defend it or not defend the corner but get a better exit? All those kind of things. How the car handles behind another car, whether it overheats. Whereas I know quite a few drivers, they're like, I want to be quickest, I'm going to be quickest. And it doesn't really matter. It's a practice session. So anyway, on board then with Dave the Harp, sitting in a Ferrari. That is a car that he uses in the World Championship. We're right on board into turn 1, about 195 metre braking point. Tricky hairpin. You have to be cautious getting the power on. Turn 2 is one of those where if you try braking late, you'll end up way off track. You kind of have to brake early. That's a corner where you used to be able to really attack, but now not so much. Heading up to turn 4, blind apex. Got to get your slow down and turning point right. And then an almost tricky corner here. It's one of those where you always feel like you can go faster, but when you try and go faster, tend to have a problem. The horrible right-left chicane. And definitely want to try and avoid the sausage curves through there, and then a tricky left-right. You try taking too much speed through the first one, you'll be slow in the second. And then the fast left-right, and you really have to get your downshift and turning point spot on through there. And then an unusual corner here. You can brake surprisingly late for this corner, but get it a moment too late and you're off. And then a very tricky downhill, bit of camber, but can never really get the power down as early as you like. And then a long right-hander, which always tempts you to be aggressive, and I would advise drivers to try being aggressive through there. You can potentially gain quite a bit of time. Okay, let's go and ride on board with, I would say, GT5 King, but it sounds like his engine's having a few issues there. Let's go and see who else we can find. Okay, Hindle's coming around the penultimate corner to start a flying lap, so we may as well ride on board with him. Obviously as well, there's differences between steering inputs, different controller types, but it should still be a similar braking point. Now the drivers can try using different gears through some of the slower corners. Some will help, some won't. And interesting why they've got a DRS zone on that particular short straight there. I can't say I've ever really remember seeing anyone make overtakes with DRS there. It just tends to help someone that's already had it. Oh, see, it's little moments like that that when the league drivers are watching, if they see stuff like that, it's like, yeah, he needs to be getting that corner better. Because what happens there is take that much curb, you're gaining time, and if drivers are taking that corner that way and easing off, they're losing time, so they're sort of doubly losing time. Now Hindle is obviously backed out of the lap here, so he's probably watching the live stream. But it's a very tricky one. I mean, I wouldn't particularly like to be in the spotlight of all of the league drivers as a new driver to the league. I mean, my situation is different. I'm in the spotlight because it's me. But there we go. I mean, it's a different kind of pressure. Okay, he's actually heading into the pit, so we'll move on to Stocking. Well, Stocky's ran a little bit wide there. Now, he was saying earlier on that he's struggling with turn 4. And it is a corner that a lot of people struggle with. Now, I do know that the stewards have said for the race this week at that corner, they do not want to see people cutting the corner. Taking too much corner is a no-no. And as a sort of benefit of sort of like, look, get the apex right and we'll be lenient on the exit. You get the apex wrong and we won't be lenient. That's what they're saying, which, I mean, you can't really argue with that one in that particular corner, because it is a very, very tricky corner. And also, I know the right-left horrible little chicane. Oh, Stock is retired from the session. The horrible sort of right-left chicane that my bad's heading up to now, they've said that they'll be lenient through there as well. Now, they don't have to be, but they have said that they will be. And I think I was going to say I think that could benefit drivers, but it's more a case of it'll hopefully give the drivers less fear of that corner. Now, does that mean that they can go cutting it by miles? No, of course not. But hopefully the big ass sausage curbs there will punish anyone that does take too much curb. So, on board then with my bad as he's heading into the pits. As I said, he's never really driven around here before, so he is on a very, very, very steep learning curve. At the end of the day, a circuit that's tricky to learn that you've never driven on is this one, because it kind of gives the impression of being a fast track, but as Kev said earlier on, it's one of those where you do kind of have to be smooth. The smoother the better, and that's smooth with your steering, your braking, your throttle application. So yeah, I mean, it is a very interesting track. I mean, I've had races here where I've absolutely loved it. You can overtake here, but it's not easy. But then I've also had races where it's just an absolute pain in the backside and a nightmare if the car's just not quite there for you. Now, obviously, some of the drivers may feel that through these sessions that the car isn't there for them, but that's what practice is all about. Okay, riding on board with Jason. Now, Jason's a driver, he's driven in the league for a number of years now. He's a very consistent driver, although it looks like we've got a bit of lag going on at the moment. But yeah, he's a very, very consistent driver. Now, he's a driver that, I mean, if there was any World Championship drivers that weren't going to make a race and needed a reserve, this is the guy to call, because he's going to get it to the end of the race. He's going to score points. Now, there are other drivers that are perhaps faster, but I mean, pretty much every single one of those faster drivers from the World Series at some point has had races they haven't completed, whereas this guy has finished every one he's entered. So yeah, definitely one for the World Championship drivers to consider if they do need a reserve. I mean, he actually got, I think it was a second place. It was either second or third, I can't remember exactly. At Monaco in the World Series, simply because of his driving style. It may not look it with the lag that we've got here, but smooth, consistent, most of the time keeps it out of trouble, and it worked for him at Monaco. It was an absolutely fantastic drive, and was actually very, very unlucky not to win the race, because drivers around him clunking walls, losing wings, and he wasn't. Okay, as he now heads into the pit lane. Now, it looks like Stocky's car's still driving around, but he has retired from the session. Okay, so we're right on board here. And they've backed off. Yep, Stock is driving around as a ghost. Mornay. See, now this is a session where Mornay is perhaps struggling a little bit. But then I know Mornay doesn't get chance to practice as much as he would like to, so he does get perhaps less chance to play about with setups as much as he would like. And there was something that was shown to me which has reminded me that that I was going to say something to him, which would be, I mean, this is a circuit where, I mean, what do you do in aim of setup? Well, one of the first things I said was, it is like Monaco without the walls, and a lot of track guides, like voiceover track guides, like that say Anthony Davidson does, or if you actually watch the race, the real F1 around here, they will all say they run similar aerodynamic levels as what they would at Monaco. So I would always suggest to drivers that think of it in that respect. I mean, at Monaco, yeah, okay, you can do a hot lap on 2.2, 3.3, 4.4, 5.5 aeros. I mean, you can also do it on 1.1, which, if you can drive it, you'll get away with for one lap, but you put a race 50% worth of fuel in there and it ain't going to go well. You're going to destroy your tyres. It's not going to have any grip. It's not going to slow down. It's not going to be very nice at all. Okay, so Dave the Harp then, currently sat in 5th place, and it looks like NW has left the session. He may be finding that he's struggling with his setup. He was earlier on today, or at least he said his setup was nice in qualifying, but whenever he went to the race, his setup was not working. So he may have it's possible that he's just found something that either isn't working for him or perhaps is working for him, but wants to go and do a little testing. I mean, some of the drivers will do that at times if they feel that whatever they've been doing in the practice session just is not working for them. Rather than going into the race on a setup that they're not happy with, they will just go and do some private practice to work on a few things. I mean, me personally, I would always tend to say, do the race, because at least then, even if your setup's not good, or even if you get spun out at turn 1, do the race, because at least then you get an idea of how long the tyres will last. Because from what I've noticed, in a 25% race, your level of tyre wear isn't that dissimilar to a 50% race. So if you can get 10 laps out of a set of options on a 25%er, you should get 10 laps out of them on a 50%er. So it's always worth doing the race just to see what the tyre wear's like. Also, your setup that might not be very nice in qualifying, you bang fuel in it, could work very well. I mean, I've been playing about with a different game, and I found qualifying setups to be quite tricky to drive, but you bang a load of fuel in it and it's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so 4 minutes left of the session then. Oh, Dave's struggling, he's pushing it hard. He's done a few laps, so his tyres are going to be suffering a little bit. I mean, around here, getting your tyres up to temperature is not going to be a problem. It's more likely going to be keeping your tyre temperature down that'll be the problem around here. Because once your tyre temperatures get too high, they will just start sliding. The car won't want to brake. Oh, as Mornay struggling a little bit there, trying to get more aggressive on his braking. Now, visually, we are getting a bit of an anomaly watching Mornay. Now, see, there's a driver that probably he knows himself he wants to get closer onto the apex of turn 4, but probably finding that his car's just not allowing him to do so. Oh, that's the wall. And that is why that chicane is a horrible one. Okay, Jason just starting another lap, but let's have a quick look at the old timing screen. So we've still got Hindle on top. I mean, Mornay, he's sat in 3rd place at the moment, but there is quite a timing gap between 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I don't think GT5 King will be overly pleased with his current lap time. We're at that sort of phase where if the guys are on proper qualifying runs, they've got enough time to get out, do one more flying lap, possibly 2, maybe, depends on how far around the circuit they already are. Now, when the cars are jumping about a bit like they are now, it is difficult to comment exactly on where the drivers are positioning their cars. But that, I mean, it could be down to the, like I say, having it on the highest level of streaming, or it could be that I've got my computer on as well. But I mean, I've said it many times, and another guy, that every lap you do on track has the potential to teach you something. You've just got to be willing to learn and understand. And I mean, even I lose my temper at times. Why is it locking up there? Why is it not turning? Why is it snapping on me in the braking zone? And it can be very easy to get frustrated at times, but you kind of have to take a step back and go, right, okay, either A, I did something that caused that, B, something on the setup isn't right that caused that, or C, I was going too fast. It's usually one of those. Now, obviously, as a spectator, we do get emphasised amounts of locking up. So, I mean, for some of the drivers, they may not be locking up much. I mean, this corner, it's a very, very tricky one, because the temptation will be to brake late, because in previous styles of cars, you could brake quite late for that corner, carry the speed in. These don't really particularly seem to like that as much, which is, it may take a few of the drivers a little bit of time to get that one. I mean, I also know as well that, I mean, it is worth trying, for example, different aerodynamic levels for this circuit. But if you do that, you do have to remember that your braking distances will change. I mean, going from one extreme to the other, if you're running around here with 1-1 aeros, braking at 95 metres for the first corner is probably not going to work for you. But if you're on 11-11 aeros, 95 metres is a nice place to brake. So playing about with the aeros a lot is worth it to a degree, but at the same time you have to be able to adjust your driving to what your car is set up on. Okay, so GT5 King then we're on board with. We're obviously down to the last moments of the qualifying session. Now, I do like the broadcast views that we get from FOM, apart from when it changes camera to an on-body shot where you can't actually see the cars that are around them. I'd prefer it to, I mean, like this one's fine as long as there's a car behind them, but it's when the car's ahead of them, it's like, well, I don't want to see this view. For me personally, the broadcast view, it should be the around the circuit cameras. If you want to go to an on-car shot, that's what the other options are there for. I mean, you can, I mean, well, I can't do it now because no one else on track, but yeah, I mean, you can hit triangle and go on the car and look in different positions. So, but there we go. So that's the qualifying session over then. So by the looks of it, after all the drivers compete in the little practice race here, Hindle and Stocky are going to be battling out between themselves, with Sergeant Hitman very, very closely battled by Dave the Harp. And then Mornay and GT5 King having their own little argument, with Jason and My Bad in the mix as well. And Nightwalker, if he's still on track, will also be there. So it could be an interesting little session here. Now, when it comes to the practice sessions and it gets to the race part, obviously there's no celebration for the victor, so to speak. I mean, I know over previous seasons it used to be said that if you win on a Tuesday, you don't win on a Wednesday or Thursday, because that's used to be what would happen. You'd win on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday or Thursday you'd crash out, or someone would crash you. You'd end up nowhere near the lead. So I know for myself, it's like, yeah, I don't mind. Tuesdays, it's fine. Go ahead, guys. You go and win. Because, like I says, for me, you use it as a tyre test. For example, qualify on the primes. So you start on the primes and see how far they'll go. I mean, I did it recently where for one of the races, I was alright, I'm starting the option tyres, and I'm going to take them all the way to the end of the race. I pitted on the last lap for a set of primes just so I didn't get disqualified, just to see if the option tyres could go that amount of laps, which they could. so I knew that that was a possibility. Okay, we'll let the drivers get going, and I'm going to retire because I'm not driving, and we shall watch how they get on. Shall move to the broadcast mode. Now turn one here is a corner where the potential for carnage is extremely high at the start of races. I mean, I got spun out yesterday, but all of the drivers here look like they've managed to get through quite nice and clean, and a lot of them will want to. But also in the practice sessions, it is an opportunity for drivers to practice their overtakes. It can get a little frustrating at times for drivers because someone may, for example, practice an overtake on them but get it wrong, meaning that got Mornay off the track. Yes, someone may get it wrong, meaning that contact is made and the opportunity for arguments is there. But it's one of those things in a practice session. If the opportunity is there to try and overtake, you've got to give it a try. Everyone should really, because then you'll know whether it can be done or not, whether you're going to lock up and go deep, whether it can be made. So yeah, it is always worth having a go. Overtakes, I think Mornay may be off again. I've got a feeling he'll be running lower aeros than perhaps may benefit him here. Hey, Sergeant Hitman's up to second, with Stocky down to third. So Stocky's not had the best of first laps there. But again, this is a situation where for the drivers, they can see what their top speed's like compared to other drivers around them, which is obviously very, very handy. Now, they won't get DRS until lap 3, as I'm sure we all know. But this is a situation, as I mentioned, where we've got an 18-lap race on 25%. So obviously, it'll be double that for the league races. So we're looking at a 36-lap race. So for the drivers here, GT5, he's lost it. He's going to take it out of the marker board, and it's now snowing polystyrene. But at least now he knows that whatever he did there is not to do again. He'll learn a lesson from that, or at least he'll get a message from the polystyrene company saying thank you. We may now make some money for having to make another one of those. That's probably just giving him a little bit of a shock there. But sometimes that's how you learn. If you make mistakes, the only thing you can really do from them is learn. If you learn from your mistakes, then the mistake was worth making. I'm not saying worth making, but you can't regret making the mistake. Anyway, see, sneaky little move there by Jason on my bad. Saw an opportunity, gave it a try, went for it, realised now, okay, I can make a move in that corner on anyone that may be sleeping a little bit. So I won't be surprised if we see Jason make that move on Thursday in the World Series race, and I like that from Jason there. Saw an opportunity, didn't waste time, went for it. Now it could have ended in absolute carnage, but that's where it's down to Jason. So sorry mate, I tried an overtake, it didn't work. Sergeant Hitman's ran a little bit wide. But again, this is where the drivers, they get more fuel on the car now. They're going to get more relevant tyre wear. They're under pressure as well, so they're perhaps going to be braking harder, throttling harder, putting more effort through the tyres, which in the practice sessions is difficult to replicate. Yes, you can drive it like you stole it, but you can't replicate that pressure of having another car all over the back of you, or Hitman is a little bit like that is what I'm on about. Now he's under pressure into the next corner, now he's brake deeper, harder, potentially going to lose another place if he's not careful. You can't replicate that pressure, which is a reason why it is always good for the drivers to actually do the race part, because there is other things you can learn. I mean, Hitman now is ran wide, but this is, hopefully will all be stuff that he's thinking, right, okay, if this happens I can't do that again, if that happens I can't do that again, or if that happens I know I can do this. And obviously Hindle at the moment is able to run away, because once the drivers start battling, it's going to slow them down. But DRS is now active, so we've got Stocky, Hitman, David Hart, GT5 King, then Mornay, all of which are World Championship drivers. So if this is their pace for Wednesday, they could be on for a fairly decent scrap. Now, turn 4, it's a corner where the temptation to overtake will always be there. It can be done, but both drivers have to go slow enough and give enough room. See, Hitman's pushing hard now to try and keep up with Stocky, but the harder he pushes, the more out of control his car is becoming. Okay, let's see how GT5 King's getting on behind Dave the Harp. I mean, I think personally GT5 will feel he's got the pace on Dave the Harp, or at least should have the pace on him. After his podium last week, he'll be fairly sure that he should be possibly up there for another 3rd or 4th place. Oh, Hitman's gone wide, but I think Stocky has as well. I think Stocky may have just had massive lag, you know. Yeah, he did. He's still going in the right direction. I did see his car going flying off the circuit. So he just had a bit of a lag moment there from my view. Dave the Harper, it's not letting me ride on board with, which is a little bit of a shame. But GT5 King's right behind him, so we'll have a look at him. So at the moment, Hindle is leading. And like I mentioned earlier that he is wanting to get back onto the reserves list, but to be honest, in my own opinion, it would be for his own benefit to not be on the reserves list this week, and learn from the Silverstone race, which in some respects it looks like he may have done, but then commentators curse. Anything could happen. I mean, with the recording systems that are available on the PS4 now as well, I mean, with the way that front row racing works, with penalising drivers that are off track, taking too much corner, extending the circuit and all that kind of thing, record your races. You can live stream it to YouTube, you can live stream it to Twitch, you can double tap share and record. I think there's 6 ways that you can record now. So by doing that, at least if a driver, let's say for example Hindle, if he is off track a few times, he can show the footage that sort of like, here you go, yes I was off, I have lifted off. Okay, you've done the right thing by doing the lift off, no penalty. So yeah, record your footage guys, it makes life a hell of a lot easier. So Stocky's still in 2nd place with Sergeant Hitman behind him. Looks like GT5 has dropped off the back of Dave the Harp. He has. Mornay is in a battle with Jason now. So Jason looks like he's feeling fairly confident around this circuit. He managed to get past My Bad, and My Bad has retired from the session. I don't know whether he has perhaps had an accident. I mean, in the car, not in his trousers. So it's possible that he's had an accident. So Jason here will be feeling fairly confident that he's, for example, caught up to Mornay and is applying the pressure. Now this is where, for someone like Jason, following the car as closely as he is, it's going to let him know about his tyre wear, his car temperatures, any understeer, whether he needs to make some changes to his car setup. Which, I mean, obviously, I won't know whether the drivers will do that or not, but that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Learn what you can, put it into effect for the races. Now he's going to get DRS down the start finish here, so he can have a decent line around the last corner. He's taken that tight line again. It seems to be working for him. He could potentially have a DRS overtake into turn 1 if he's got the speed. Mornay's gone defensive, so he's aware that he's there. Can he make it around the outside? It's a difficult move to make. He's going to cut back up the inside though and get DRS. This is where the DRS in this zone is useful, to close up in the first one, perhaps overtaking the second one, but he's had to back out to give room to Mornay, so that battle is potentially going to continue on for another lap as Jason gets very, very sideways. Okay, Stocky's quite far off Hindle at the moment. It did get held up by Sergeant Hitman for quite some time in the early stages, and Sergeant Hitman is still within touching distance. And I tell you what, GT5 King somehow has managed to get himself all over the back of Dave the Harp, who was a good couple of seconds away a lap or so ago. The pressure is being applied. Dave the Harp's making a couple of mistakes which will be giving GT a little bit of confidence. And that's the thing, when you're following a driver, you don't have to go for an overtake straight away, you don't have to go for a late lunge up the inside, all you got to do is be there. I mean, quite often you can make a driver crack under pressure just by being there. Okay, pit stops are happening. I'm surprised that they're happening as early as they are. But obviously the drivers are feeling that the tyre wear has been sufficient. So we've got a cracking back. Going to look for the inside. No, Dave Hart covers him off. We've also got a move going on behind. Oh, GT's giving him a little nudge. Oh, I wanted to catch with Mornay and Jason. Jason's got ahead into the first corner. And I think GT5 and Dave the Harp, bloody typical. I go off board of them thinking, oh, well, they'll carry on. And they've gone and spun each other out. Now, that's a situation where, okay, neither of them will be happy that they spun out, but practice your overtakes. Whatever happened there, hopefully, won't be repeated. But yeah, Jason then has moved himself now up to second place with quite a few drivers pitting and a few spinning. Sergeant Hitman is now leaving his car in the pit lane by the looks of things. So where is Stocky then? Stocky's down in 6th but has made a pit stop. So okay, what it looks like then, pitting when these guys they're looking to see whether the prime tyre, how that prime tyre is going to handle for 10 laps. Personally, well, I mean, obviously I'm not behind the wheel at the moment, so Stocky's definitely got some lag going on there, or at least visually we have, and Hindle has entered the pits. I think he should come out fairly comfortable. Jason is also in the pits though, be interesting to see where he comes out. Mornay's followed him in. Yeah, I mean, okay, the drivers will have done laps in qualifying on their option tyres, but personally I would have been trying to stretch them to 9, lap 10, and perhaps even on occasion just take them until they absolutely fall off the cliff, because then you know what the exact limit is. You take them to the cliff and then you know where that is, you know what the extreme maximum is. Because one thing that I have noticed is a little similar to previous games is your grip will go off, and then for one lap you'll have a bit of grip. After that, diabolical. But if you can find out where that limit is, you then know to sort of feel for that last lap of grip, and then you've got your maximum tyre length. Okay, so Jason, with the collisions of others, is up to 3rd, but he's not liking the prime tyre as he's just ran wide. Saying that Stock is 25 seconds behind the leader, which I don't think is quite right, to be honest. To go through another sector and it probably drop down. Yep, he's only 8 seconds behind. Now this is where, if the drivers hadn't ran the prime tyre with fuel on in the practice session at the start of this evening, then they could perhaps struggle here, not knowing what the car will be capable of. And that's why it's a good idea to chuck the fuel in, run the prime tyre and see how it goes on. I mean, over the last few weeks I have said it a few times on my live streams or in other places where, I mean, in my championship winning seasons, I never set the car up on option tyres. I set my car up on prime tyres, because if you can get your car handling beautifully on prime tyres, then it will be phenomenal on options. Whereas if you set your car up on the option tyres, you may find you put the primes on and it's horrible. So there's no benefit of being quick on the options if when you put the primes on you're just losing and losing and losing. Okay, let's go and see if Dave the Harp and GT5 King are still arguing between themselves. Oh, there's a bit of a gap between them, but Dave the Harp is ahead. I know I should have stayed on board with them too, but I wanted to see Jason attempt his overtake, because I wouldn't say he's been aggressive, he's been very positive in this session, and it's good to see. It's very good to see. Oh, GT5 King, all out of shape. Luckily manages to keep it on the right kind of direction there. Now, for anyone that's watching, they may be wondering, well, Dave, why aren't you just driving round? I mean, for those people that are watching the stream that have perhaps watched my own personal live streams before, you'll know that I haven't been streaming as much lately. So I've been quite busy either practicing for this, practicing for another project I'm involved in, doing reviews for the F1 leagues, doing commentary on Thursday. So I did say when I started my live streaming on like project cars and stuff like that, that for me myself, when F1 comes out, there would be less live streaming from myself in general, but more F1 than anything else, which has been the case. So I have been doing a lot of my live streaming for Front Row Racing, whether it be commentating or things like this. So why am I not driving? Well, as I said at the very start, I'd not long eaten, so I was feeling bloated, and also I wanted to try and help promote the Front Row Racing Project Cars leagues, as well as our F1 league. I mean, we've had quite a lot of interest in our FRR Days events, our feeder system into the F1 leagues, over the last few weeks, and the opportunities are there for drivers to take part in that, show they can be clean, and opportunities are there to be reserve drivers or even take permanent seats when they come available, which at times they have become available. The opportunities are there. All the drivers have to do is keep it clean on the road. So yeah, it's been good that we've had the interest on that, and for anyone that's interested in joining the league, just find Front Row Racing on Facebook and let us know. You can get involved in the Fridays events. We'll record it, we'll do commentary on it, we won't do any stewarding or anything like that. It's down to you as the drivers to show us what you can do, and if what you can do would get you lots of penalties, it's down to you to improve. Now, for the Project Cars leagues, they're leagues that I'm quite interested to see what happens with. I'm probably not going to be competing in them myself, to be honest. The Friday evening one, I'll be doing commentary on, and the Sunday evening one, we've got a commentary team set up for it. So doubtful I'll be racing in those, but hopefully I will try and get some more of my own personal streaming done. But like I say, I have also been involved in another project which has been taking up quite a bit of my time. Okay, on to lap 12 then, and it looks like these guys are getting closer. GT5 is closing in again on Dave the Harp. Mornay's up to 4th place. Jason will be absolutely loving the fact that he's up in 3rd. I mean, I said it early on, for any of the World Championship drivers that might need a reserve, this is the guy to go to, and this is why. You're not going to see him cutting corners, you're not going to see him extending the circuit, you're not going to see him nailing into people. What you will see is him getting to the end, and at the moment he's in third place and he'll be absolutely buzzing about it. Okay, Stocky's dropped off from Hindle, so it's about 11.5 seconds behind. So yeah, the Project Cars leagues, if you like playing Project Cars, there are spaces available in our Project Cars leagues. Start this week, 9 PM on Friday, for a 10-round season of Formula B. So the races will be 85-mile long. So this week it starts with Monza, 15-minute qualifying, 85-mile long race, which works out about 24 laps. So yeah, that could be very interesting. If you want to join, just let us know at Front Row Racing. And similar goes with the Sunday League. Although the Sunday League is going to be slightly slower cars, so it's going to be a 10-round season of Ginetta Juniors, which they produce fantastic racing. They do, because they're not the fastest of cars. They can produce some really, really close racing. So that'll be really good fun to see how the guys get on in those. That'll be from 8:30 PM on Sundays. So yeah, if you're interested, just let us know. You're in. The spaces are available, first come, first served. There is spaces available. Just find Front Row Racing on Facebook and let us know you want to join. You're in. I did post up a link to the start date video that I did today. I'll post it up again for anyone that may be watching. I might even put it in the comments section of the video once the stream is finished, so if anyone is watching this late, they can see the link there. Okay, so 4 laps to go, and this is where for the drivers now, they should have a really good idea of how the prime tyres are going to handle given about 10 laps worth of running. But considering that the race here is going to be 36 laps long, that could make it quite interesting for strategy. I mean, I haven't got a clue what strategy I'm going to go for yet. I'll work that out later tonight, or perhaps just before the race tomorrow, depends on whether it's wet. And that's a good point. If it's wet around here, oh my goodness me, it will be horrible. I mean, this is one of those tracks. Monaco in the wet is not nice, but because the walls are there, it kind of forces you to go slow. This place in the wet gives you that false sense of security that you can still push it a bit. So yeah, I mean, okay, let's say for example what some of the drivers have done here. I think some drivers pitted lap 7, end of lap 7, some drivers pitted end of lap 9. So if you go on those, you say laps 8 and 9. Well, if you do 8 laps at the start of the race, that's still going to leave you with 28 laps to do. Well, if these drivers are only doing 10 laps on their prime tyres, if they go off towards the end, they aren't getting enough laps out of them to do a 2-stop race, because they've got 28 laps to do and their primes will only do 10 laps. Now, it is possible the primes will do a little bit more, but then you're looking at trying to get your primes to do 14 laps. Now, will they do it? Yes, but then if someone's on options, will it be quicker? Will they be quicker? Probably. Will their tyres last? Maybe not. So the strategies for around this circuit for this weekend are going to be very, very interesting. And also very, very difficult for the drivers to work out perhaps what they are going to do with strategy. It's not going to be an easy one for any of them to decide on. I mean, it's perhaps a race where, you know what, if it did rain, it might make life a lot easier, because if it's full wet, you start on the full wets and you stay on them until they're dead, and you either go on to wets again and then intermediates. Now on the wets, I mean, they may do a 1-stop round here, I don't know. So yeah, it may be better if it's wet. But then, I mean, if it is dry, it brings in that question again of, I know some drivers like to do a number of runs in qualifying, but if you're wanting to do... Oh, Dave the Harp, he's ran wide, he's giving GT5 King the place, so perhaps Dave's tyres are suffering now. Is quite possible. Let's go and see what cinematic views we have here. Oh, that's not a bad little one, apart from can't really see Dave's car. Oh, to be fair, I don't usually play about with these if I'm doing commentary on World Series. I tend to prefer to just leave it on the broadcast views. Yeah, I mean, let's say for example, if Dave the Harp's tyres, his prime tyres are suffering now, he's not even done 10 laps on them. So he could be struggling for race strategy for tomorrow. But it could be something on his something on his setup where he might be able to go, you know what, my tyre wear was high, perhaps it's because of this, and he may be able to adjust it. But yeah, I mean, I was saying in qualifying, I know drivers quite often like to do a lot of runs in qualifying, like do 2 or 3 like hot laps, so to speak, on 3 sets of tyres. But the drivers do have to think smart, think clever. If they're going to be doing, GTs all over the place, well saved. I've got a feeling that the curry that Vijay Mallya gave him for the podium is having an adverse effect on a potentially illegal rear diffuser with the excess gases coming out the back of the seat of that car. Yeah, so if drivers are thinking about possibly doing, say, a 3-stop race around here, they've got to make sure they've got the tyres to be able to do it. Okay, looks like Mornay is lining up Jason for an attack. He's been gaining on him in the last few laps. So perhaps then, as the fuel has run down on Mornay's car, perhaps his car has been coming towards him a little bit. If it is, that would kind of show perhaps a car that's been set up on low fuel, and when heavier fuel was put in, it wasn't feeling particularly great, but now we're on the last lap, it's feeling a lot more better. A lot more better. It's not very well put, is it? I was going to say a lot more comfortable. Oh, that's going to get uncomfortable. We've got a Dane nudging a Swede for position. Well, this is another situation where the drivers can learn from this. Mornay's like, can I get past? Can I get past? Jason's like, where do I defend? Where do I defend? Okay, Hindle's gone on to win. So yeah, it's an interesting one, this. I've got a feeling it could end with a spin, but Mornay's going to want to try and get past. He's looking up the inside, now the outside. Jason's defended the inside. Could slow him down. I've got a feeling this could go all the way to the line. Depends on where the line is. As Mornay is going for the cutback, going for a better exit speed there. Oh, a little bit of contact. But Jason's made this move on a few drivers through the race. Can he make it work here? Oh, he can't. That's close. It's really close. And Mornay sneaks through. GT5 King takes fourth. Dave the Harp in fifth. And I don't think we had any other drivers left. They obviously found out what they needed to find and left it at that. Well, an interesting practice session there. And I think a session where the drivers will have learned quite a lot about what their car's capable of circuit. Very interesting to see the different racing lines that a few of the drivers use there. So anyway, right, we'll bring this to an end then. It's the end of the Front Row Racing practice session at Hungary. I've been Front Row Racing DP. I will put a link to the Project Cars video start date in the comments. So if you are interested in joining on PS4 F1 2015 League or Project Cars League, just find Front Row Racing on Facebook and send us a message. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for the World Championship Round 10 at Hungary, live on YouTube from 7:30, and then on Thursday for the World Series, once again live on YouTube at 7:30. I've been Front Row Racing DP. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.